Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can get this thing going here. All right, so we're learning the first 19 presidents here. All right, so we've got a big quiz. Big quiz on the first 19 presidents. All right, so I'm just going to start right here with Washington. So we've seen it. Hey, no, what's going to go in there? No party. They make people fight was the only unanimous choice for president. He added the words, "So help me God," to the oath of office. He put down the Whiskey Rebellion. These Western farmers don't want to pay the whiskey tax. He started the two-term tradition. After serving 2 terms, he didn't run anymore. All right, and he made that speech called the Farewell Address. Beware of political parties and permanent alliances. So I'm going to put it up here. It may take a while, minute here. All right, so there you go. So then, there it is. All right, so you're picking 2 of these things. This party's nothing. I just put last name, Washington, with an X by it. Everybody voted for him. He added, "So help me God." Put down the Whiskey Rebellion, the two-term tradition. Okay? Farewell Address is the most famous speech. Beware of political parties and then permanent alliances. That's called isolationism, that we don't want to get involved with the rest of the world. Okay, next one is, you got it, it's Adam. Well, that's just a bunch of names. There it is. All right, he's the only member of a particular political party. He passes this anti-immigration law, and there's 2 parts of it. He's a one-termer, and he makes these last-minute appointments. So what are they called? All right, it's the only Federalist passed the Alien Sedition Act. The Alien Act said you got to be here 14 years to be a citizen. The Sedition Act said you can't hate on the president. All right, so that's the Alien Sedition Acts. All right, he's a one-termer, wasn't real popular. He makes some midnight appointments during this lame duck period. Appoints a bunch of Federalists who are going to be in office, the whole time. If you're a judge, you're in the office the whole time. Okay, all right, so that's that. Adams, so we're doing what? 19 of them? Maybe you wanted to, when you're trying to learn them, you do maybe 4 sets of 5, something like that. 3 sets of 5 instead of 4. All right, next you're going to have who? Jefferson. There he is. All right, the next 3 presidents, 3, 4, 5, and 6, the next 4 presidents, all going to be Democrat or Republicans. All right, that court case that gives the power, the Supreme Court the power of judicial review, the power to declare laws unconstitutional, is called, all right, Marbury versus Madison. Most famous thing he did as president was made Louisiana Purchase. Double the size of the country. He's doing it for the sake of his favorite Americans, the yeoman farmer. All right, and he sends Lewis and Clark out to map out that territory there. Okay, so that is Jefferson. Okay, number 4. So Washington, Adams, Jefferson. 4 and 5. So we'll go 4 and 5, first 5. All right, 4 and 5 are M and M. Both next 2 guys start with the letter M, and they're both Jameses. James M. So, all right, so James Madison. All right, another Democrat Republican. Hey, he's mad. Look at there. He's mad. He fought the War of 1812 against Britain. Britain burned Washington, D.C., had to run away. Star Spangled Banner was written. It was the battle at Fort McHenry that was at Baltimore. And so he's the president during that war. And that's really kind of the thing that dominates his presidency. All right. One more of these guys. All right. And then, so it's going to be James, another M, James Monroe. Okay. You know what? I'm going 6. Since 6 is going to be the son of number 2. All right. The next Democrat Republican is going to be called the era of good feelings. It's the era of good feelings because there's only one political party. We kind of fuss about politics. Today people fuss at each other about President Trump. The Federalists lost support because they had been the anti-war party. They had a meeting called the Hartford Convention during the War of 1812 where they talked about seceding from the country. All right, nationalism. All right, nationalism is another name for patriotism. We were proud of standing up to Britain during the War of 1812. We had fought Britain twice and we hadn't lost. Kind of like fighting The Rock or John Cena or something like that. Getting in a fist fight with those 2 guys and not losing. All right, he also issues the Monroe Doctrine, which says, Europe, you need to mind your own business. Don't try to take over new territory, especially in Latin America. The Latin American countries had won their independence. So the Monroe Doctrine is, again, it's kind of very consistent with Washington, where we're being isolationist, and we don't want other countries really messing with us. All right, Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe. Okay, Quincy Adams. So that makes sense to include him. These are all kind of your founder presidents. So he's the last of the Democratic Republicans. He's a one-termer, and nobody got a majority in the Electoral College when he ran for president. So it went to the House of Representatives. Jackson accused Adams of making a corrupt bargain with Henry Clay. And the bargain was Clay supported Adams for president. Adams made Clay his Secretary of State. And so that's how he got to be president. All right, the Jacksonians, the Jackson supporters got real mad about that. He's a one-term president just like Dad. Not a real successful president. Okay. So what I would do right quick is I go the first 6. All right, so there they are. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Quincy Adams. And, the other thing I would do is just pause it. If there's one you don't know, and I go too fast, well, pause it. Think about it for a second before you move on. Get the stuff learned now. Okay. All right, Andrew Jackson. All right, so he's the first Democrat. He's the champion of what kind of man? Well, Thomas didn't like it. It's called the common man, but it wasn't meant to be an insult. People were proud to be common people. Common people got the right to vote. Poor white guys got the right to vote for the first time. They all voted for Jackson. All right. He hated the second Bank of the U.S. Well, the Bank of the U.S. Wasn't good to the common man. Besides, the Indian Removal Act is going to lead to the Trail of Tears. Okay. So everything he did as president, he's doing on behalf of the common man. Okay. Now, he replaces that bank with more common man-friendly banks, and they make these unwise loans to guys who didn't have a lot of money. And so Jackson's vice president came after him, and his name was Martin Van Buren. So those unwise loans to guys who couldn't pay the loans back ends up causing these banks to close. Banks close, people lose their last savings. So that's going to be called the Panic of 1837. All right, and so the Panic of 1837 wasn't his fault. It was Jackson's fault, but he became unpopular, so he's a one-termer. All right, so Jackson, Van Buren. So those two are kind of a 1-2 punch, and Van Buren had been Jackson's vice president. Okay, the next president is going to be the first Whig president. The Whig Party was made up of people who didn't like Jackson. The Whigs ran a war hero from the War of 1812, and he's the guy that's not very president for very long. So he's Whig. William Henry Harrison is a war hero like Jackson. He was the hero of the Battle of Tippecanoe in the War of 1812. So his campaign slogan was Tippecanoe and Tyler too. But he gives that long speech in the cold for his inaugural address. He's trying to prove that he's tough and he can handle the cold. He's also trying to prove that he's well informed and he can say a lot. And so the result is he's the shortest president ever. So his vice president takes his place, Tippecanoe and Tyler too. So Tyler's the next president. So there he is. All right, so he's Harrison, vice president. Now he had a choice to make. He could either just kind of be acting president while, they waited for the next election, or he could take the oath of office and become president. So he did. He took the oath of office. And so ever since then, when a president died in office, the vice president took his place and became president. All right, he got kicked out of the Whig Party because he really kind of acted like a Democrat. Henry Clay was the guy who came up with this thing, the American system, after the War of 1812. And the American system was a tariff to help industry, the second Bank of the U.S. that Jackson doesn't like, and transportation improvements like the canals, the Erie Canal, roads, railroads, steamboats, steamships, clipper ships, all kinds of things to help improve transportation. And he was against that, so his own party kicked him out. Okay? So, let's see here. I believe this time we ought to do 4. So it's 2 pair. If we're playing a card game, it's a president and his vice president who ended up being unpopular, and a president and his vice president who ended up being unpopular. Okay, Jackson's 2-term president, but those banks he set up caused Van Buren to be unpopular, so that caused the Panic of 1837. Then you got Harrison, who's the president, war hero president, replaced by his, he dies so quick, so Tyler takes his place, and becomes unpopular, gets kicked out of his own party. Okay, president number 11. So let's pause for a second. So the first 10, Washington, Adams, Jefferson, right? Those first 3. Then Eminem, Madison, Monroe, Quincy Adams, son of number 2, Jackson, Van Buren, 7 and 8, Harrison, Tyler, 9 and 10. All right, Polk is kind of a standalone guy. He's the president who believed in manifest destiny, that we ought to spread from sea to shining sea. All right, the war we fought over getting new territory, really what he wanted was California, was the Mexican-American War. All right, so the Mexican-American War was on the last test. Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was the land we got from that treaty. All right, and so it's all this area in the southwest here. Okay, so that's the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. All right, which really sets up the question that's going to lead to the Civil War. Not is slavery going to be permanent? Everyone assumed it was permanent in the South, but would it spread to the West? And so people are kind of arguing about that. All right. Well, then you've got 4 guys who are bad presidents. None of them could stop the Civil War. So that's the event you need to know. All right, and so then the other thing you can tell is, whether they were a Jackson hater or a Jackson lover. Whig, Democrat, Democrat. Our little thing, we've got a little memory device for it. Taylor, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan, this fall, play ball. And so this, T, F, fall, P, Pierce, B, Buchanan. Or just say it like it's one big word. Taylor, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan. All right, none could stop the Civil War. Okay. All right. So then that's getting us into. So you go on Polk, then Taylor, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan. All right. This is this last unit that we've been doing the last few weeks. So there's Lincoln. Bum, bum, bum. All right. Originally, he was not an abolitionist against the spread of slavery. We know he was president during the Civil War. He did the Emancipation Proclamation that set the slave, in which he was attempting to set the slaves free in the South. We also looked at that speech, the Gettysburg Address. Okay. So there's Lincoln. Now we know Lincoln got assassinated by John Wilkes Booth, who took his place, Andrew Johnson. All right, not Andrew Jackson, but Andrew Johnson was from Tennessee Democrat. Lincoln's vice president. All right, he was against Reconstruction, very racist president, most racist president we've ever had. And he got impeached because he broke this law, the Tenure of Office Act. Really, he got set up, the radical Republicans in Congress who were trying to get him to go along with Reconstruction, set him up because he wouldn't. And so he got impeached and he missed conviction by 1 vote. All right, Grant is the Civil War general. He's a 2-term president. He presided over Reconstruction. All right, there's a lot of corruption. He was a drinker, but he was the president that took on the Ku Klux Klan when Reconstruction was going on. And the South was divided into 5 military districts. Okay, and then the last president, president number 19, is Rutherford B. Hayes. All right, so he lost the popular vote. There were 3 disputed states, and for 4 months, nobody knew who was going to be the president. At the end of that 4-month period, a compromise was made. So Hayes got to become president, but the condition of it is he ends Reconstruction and gets the troops out of the South. So he becomes president as well as this compromise of 1877 ending Reconstruction. All right, let's see how long that lasted. I don't think it actually lasted all that long, did it?